Okay, welcome back. So here's where we left off. We have our move counter, but we have a couple issues with it. First of all, if we use our fade panel here, right now I have it set to time. It's counting down in the background, which doesn't really seem fair. So we're going to adjust for that in just a second here. If I click OK, didn't really do anything to change the game. It's not going to go below 0. It just has that debug log that says you lose. We're going to make two different panels that can come down, one saying try again and one saying you win. And those are both going to be triggered by meeting the requirements within the specified time or not meeting the requirements in the specified time. So let's deal with that first issue where that panel comes down and that timer is still going in the background. So how we're going to fix that here is there's 3 new game states I want to add into the board class. So go ahead and open up your board script, and then in the board class, way up above, we have our enums that we created. And I already added these because I had recorded this video once already, so sorry. The new game states we're going to add are, so we had wait and move. We're going to add win for when the player wins, which will make it so that they can't move things. Lose for when they lose, which still will make it so that they can't lose things. And pause. What pause does is pause is going to allow us to pause the game without having to change the time scale. It's also going to make sure that the counter doesn't move if the game is in pause state. So let's get to enforcing that here. So for our pause state, we actually want our game to start in that state. So in my start method in board, I'm going to have, man, I need to clean this up, but anyway, I'm going to have my game state just start out as pause. So let's do current state is equal to game state dot pause. Okay, so we're going to start out in pause. And we're only allowed to move if we're in move, but that doesn't affect the button. The button works just fine no matter what. So if I hit play here, alright, this comes down, click OK, and then I'm not able to move anything. And the reason why is because my board starts out in the pause state. Now, once it's out of pause, then I want to be able to move stuff and I want my counter to start counting down. So I'm going to go to my endgame manager here, and I'm going to need to make some changes to the board, which means I need to make a reference to the board. So I'm going to make a private board, and I'll call it board. And then in my start method, before I do anything else, I'm going to access that board. So board equals find object of type board. All right, cool. Now, when I'm setting up the game, I'm doing all of this, I probably want to switch the boards, actually, oh no, I do still want this, okay, sorry, scattered again. So in my decrease counter, if I'm in the you lose, I'm going to set the board to be in the lose state. So I'm going to say board dot current state is equal to game state dot lose. Oop, nope, not move. Okay, so doing that alone should add an extra bit of functionality to the game here. If we go back into Unity and I hit play, panel moves down, I click OK. It already says you lose, which means we're in the lose game state, and that means I can't move anything. So that's pretty good. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go to my fade panel controller script. And in my OK method here, I'm going to change this from just being OK to being something that changes the game state. But I want a little pause. I don't want it to change the game state immediately. I want it to wait a second so that everything can get out of the way before the timer starts counting down. So going to make a little coroutine here. This is going to be IEnumerator, and I'm going to call this game start co for game start coroutine. I'm going to yield return new wait for seconds, and I'm going to wait 1 second. Now I want to change the board state. So what I'm going to do is just assign the board right now. So board, nope, B-O-A-R-D, lowercase b. Actually, no, I did mean to have uppercase board. So board, again, Visual Studio thinks I want stuff over there, is equal to find object of type board. Okay, so this is going to find the board in the scene. I'm not doing this in the start method because I don't have anything else in the start method, and I'm only going to do this once per game, so it's fine. So board equals find object of type board, and then I want to say board dot current state is equal to game state dot move. So we're putting it into the move state after a 1 second wait. And that 1 second wait is going to be called from when we press the OK button. So I'm going to start coroutine, game start co, and semicolon to end my thought. And there we go. So now, if I go into Unity here and hit play, and wait for it to compile like I should because I'm a patient guy. Okay, cool. Oh, it was still counting down, but if I click OK, then I can flip-flop these. So what I want to do now to make sure it's not counting down is go to my Endgame Manager, and I already have a reference to my board here. So I'm going to decrease counter value so long as we're not in the pause state. So if board dot current state is not equal to game state dot pause, and so this should make it so that it's not counting down in the background like that. And then also we could add a pause screen where it's not counting down if we hit pause, which would be similar to if we changed the timescale, but you want to be kind of cautious about changing the timescale because that carries over from scene to scene. So if you set the timescale to 0 in one scene and then load another scene, it's still 0. Okay, cool. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to pop back into Unity here. I'm going to let that think. And if I did this right, when I hit play, I should be able to wait more than 2 seconds and not see "you lose" pop up down here. So let's try it out. All right, cool. So when I click OK, now it starts counting down. And then it tells me I lose. And can't move pieces. Okay, so cool. So that's all working as intended. What's the next thing we want to do? So I'm going to go back into Unity here. I'm going to take my fade panel, and I have this first panel here. I'm going to rename it from panel to call it game intro panel. And I'm going to duplicate this twice. One of them I'm going to call try again panel. And the other one I'm going to call you win panel. Alright, so just so I know which one I'm working on, I'm going to turn my game intro panel off and my you win panel off. So I'm only looking at the try again panel. In the try again panel, I'm going to do a few things. First, I'm going to take my OK button and I'm going to remove its on-click event because this is going to get a different on-click event. Also, in my goals panel, I'm going to take my goal container, I'm going to remove that. So let me just delete that really quickly. And then I'm going to change my text from saying goals to saying try again. And I'll make this nice and big and put it up at the top of the container. So nice and big, right up there. Okay, and I'm going to change this from saying goals panel to maybe just calling it inset. All right, cool. So there's my try again panel. Now I'm going to do something similar for the uWin panel. So right now I just have uWin on, the other two are grayed out. So first, I'm going to grab my OK button and take away the onClick event so that it's not triggering what it was, because it's going to need to trigger something else. I'm going to change goals panel to inset again. I'm going to grab the text. I'm going to change this to uWin, exclamation point. And let's make that nice and big. Put it towards the center up here. And let's get rid of the goal container. All right, so there's my uWin panel. I'm going to start with that off. I'm going to turn the game intro panel back on. If I don't turn it back on, it won't come on when I hit play. So back in my code here, in my endgame manager, I'm going to make two more objects. I'm going to make a try again panel and a uWin panel. So public game object uWin panel and public game object try again panel. So I'm gonna have where I have you lose. I'm going to make that uWin panel active. So, or sorry, not uWin panel. Try again. So try again panel dot set active true. And then I'm also going to make another method down here that I'm just going to call maybe win game or something like that. Actually, I'm going to do two of these. I'm going to do public void win game so that this can be called from our level goal script. And then I'm going to have another void. I'm going to make it public. I don't know if I need it to be public right now, but I'm going to anyway. Call this lose game. I'm going to take all of this stuff that's piling up in here. Yeah, I'm going to cut this out and paste it into lose game. And then I'm just going to call lose game from here. And then in my win game, I'm going to take the uWin panel dot set active true. And then I'm going to make the game state be win. Word dot current, not current dot, current state equals game state dot win. And then I don't need to do this debug statement anymore. Well, I'll leave it there for the moment. And set the current counter value to 0 and the current text and all that. Set that back to 0. So I'll copy this and paste that there. All right, cool. I'm going to save this, pop back into Unity here, let it think for a second, and hit play. This panel is going to slide in, slide back out. Oh, I didn't assign it. Okay, cool. So endgame manager, it needs to know what the uWin panel is, and it needs to know what the try again panel is. There we go. So let's try that again. So, okay, goes away. Try again. Now, the one thing we could do to make this a little nicer is to have that white panel fade in. So let's do that. I want to go to my fade panel, which is the whole panel here, and I want to look at my animator really quickly here. So I've got my panel pre-fade to fade in to idle, and the idle is when it's completely transparent. I'm going to have a, yeah, this is the fade out. I'm going to have a new animation state that goes here, which is the panel fade in, and then it goes to pre-fade, and then it won't go to fade, I guess fade in, fade out maybe? I worded that weird. Anyway, just another state here for the idle to go to when the game is over, whether you win or you lose. So to do that, I'm going to go to animation. I'm going to take my animation tab and dock it down here so I can see the game in the scene view. I want the fade panel. There we go. So panel fade in, I'm going to create a new clip. I'm going to call this panel fade out. And I'm not going to save it in scripts. I'm going to save it in animation, animations. I want this to hit record first. I want this to start fully transparent. And then after a second, go fully opaque. And just see what that looks like. Cool. Go out of record mode, back into my animator, and now I've got that new state. Just gonna place it right there. I'm gonna make a transition from panel idle to there, and then from panel fade out to panel pre-fade. Now if I leave nothing as it is, maybe you want to see this. I think it's kind of cool. If I just hit play, here's what happens. So I click OK. I think it's kind of interesting. It keeps fading in and out. So what I want to do is I want to create another parameter so that it only goes from here to there if that parameter is met. And I'm going to make this a bool, and I'm going to call this game over. So I'm going to go from here to here if game over is true. And then from here to here with no requirement, because this is where it's just idling there, fully opaque. So what I want to do now is go to my panel fade controller, or fade panel controller rather. Yeah, I got my animators here. I'm going to create a new method. I'm going to call this game over. And in this game over method, I'm going to set out to be false. Panel anim dot set bool out false. And then I want to set, what did I just call it? Game over to be true. Panel anim dot set bool game over true. Okay, so I'm going to save that really quickly here. Let's go back to Unity. Let's change my endgame manager. Let's make that so it's more than just 2 seconds, but not too much more. I don't want to wait here forever. Let's call that 5 seconds. Okay, and now I need something that's going to call this game over. So in my endgame manager, I'm going to find my fade panel controller and just switch it to game over. So when I lose the game, actually, whether I'm losing the game or not, yeah, I'll just do it to both. So fade panel controller, we'll call it fade, find object of type, fade panel controller, fade dot game over, and then I'll just copy these 2 lines from here to here. All right, cool. So if I save that, oops, pop back into Unity, look at my game view here. Maybe there we go. So I'm going to hit play. It's going to come down. Click OK. 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Cool. Try again. Now, for the winning the game, what I'm going to have to do is look at my, what did I call it? My goal manager. So I already have it kind of set up here. I have this little debug log here for you win. I'm going to find, I'm going to do this the long way. So I'm going to say private end game manager. I'll just call it end game. And then in start, I'll fill that up. Find object of type end game manager. And then when I'm trying to end the level, I'm going to say if end game is not equal to null, then I want to do end game dot win game. Cool. So then if I jump back into Unity here, I'm going to choose my end game manager so that I can test out the win condition here. I'm going to change it from time to moves, and I'm going to leave myself a ridiculous amount of moves, say 100. Let's hit play. I'll have my panel fade in and that fall down and squish and bounce. Click OK. So I have to get these conditions met. So I'm going to fast forward the video a little bit here, right up until I have them almost met. Okay, so I'm about to meet my endgame conditions. And there we go. So you win didn't trigger that fade though. So what I want to do here is check out why. So endgame manager, win game. Oh, it's because I didn't do this. So I'm going to, nope, not cut, copy, and then paste that right here. I probably did that and didn't realize I did it. Okay, so now let's try it with a really small number of moves and see if it triggers a game over. So we'll play. Let that think for a second. Alright, so I'm going to intentionally not meet my requirements. Okay, so I got try again. And again, that OK button doesn't do anything. We're going to cover that soon. Alright, cool. So we've got a situation where we can tell if our goals are met. And if our goals are met, it triggers a win condition. And if our goals are not met, it triggers a lose condition. We're going to be able to save information like score on that level, high score on that level, whether or not the level was cleared, so that we can create a pretty okay level select screen. It's not going to look exactly like Candy Crush, but it'll be close enough. So yeah, there we go. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the description down below. You can follow me on Twitter to find out when I post new videos. You can join my Discord, where I'm chatting pretty much every day. And yeah, hope you have yourself a wonderful day.